I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street.
Hey guys, Steve Owens here. I'm here to tell you about the coolest subscription-based monthly curator of men's fashion, the Menlo Club. Here's how it works. When you sign up at menlohouse.com, you choose your color and style categories. Then, each month, they send several pieces of clothing specially selected for you, all for $60 per month, tax and shipping included. Items like button-ups, both long and short-sleeved, t-shirts, shorts, jeans, pants, sweaters, athleisure wear, even sunglasses and shoes. And as a special deal for my listeners, during the month of August, if you sign up and use promo code FSP, you'll receive 50% off your first month's package, plus a pair of 5'4" brand sneakers and socks. So sign up today at menlohouse.com and use promo code FSP, as in Fascination Street Podcast, at checkout. Hi everybody, this is Steve Owens from Fascination Street Podcast. I really appreciate your listening to the show. I'm having a lot of fun getting to talk to some really fascinating people, and I want to continue doing this, but I need your help. I need you to subscribe and tell people about the show. But the biggest thing you can do to help me is to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen through. As a special thank you, anyone who rates and or reviews the show, send me a screenshot as proof and I will mail you a set of 3 pair of silk cufflinks courtesy of my friends at Menlo House. You can send it via Twitter to @FascinationSTPD, via Instagram to FascinationStreetPod, or email me at FascinationStreetPod@gmail.com. I really appreciate all of you for listening and for helping. Thank you so much. Now let's get to this week's guest. What's up, guys? This episode is with actor Scott Takeda. You've seen him in the Dallas Buyers Club, Gone Girl, The Space Between Us, even The Man in the High Castle. In this episode, we talk about his previous career as a broadcast journalist. We also talk about how important a strong work ethic is in show business. And he gives us some stories from some of the sets he's been on. Enjoy, guys. This is Scott Takeda.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Thank you, Scott Takeda. Welcome to Hot Trumpet Talk, the podcast that's exclusively about trumpet players in the Colorado Concert Band. So welcome, Scott Takeda.
Well, thank you. I had no idea we were talking trumpet, but okay, we can talk trumpet.
We're not. I'm just messing with you. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fine.
Good to hear. This is actually Fascination Street Podcast, where I talk to people that I find fascinating, and you have a very interesting story.
Well, good. I hope I'm interesting.
So let's talk about Scott Takeda.
Okay.
So I believe you were born and grew up in the Colorado area.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Fort Collins, Colorado, which, if your listeners don't know, is kind of in the northern part of Colorado. Parents met at a university called Colorado State University, which is located there, and they got married, and that's where I was born.
Is that the Buffaloes?
Oh boy, no, that is the Rams. That is the Rams.
Oh, okay, cool.
The Buffaloes are my alma mater at the University of Colorado Boulder, which is a little bit more in the central part of the state. And there has been a reemergence of the rivalry between CU Buffaloes and the Colorado State Rams.
So I guess when you go home for Thanksgiving, it's a house divided?
You would think it would be, but I think my parents don't really care about the rivalry, so it's not so much. But, you know, in certain circles, you'll find folks very passionate about their side of the street.
Yeah, we kind of have that here in Texas between the Texas A&M Aggies and the Texas Longhorns. It's kind of a big deal.
Sure, yeah, totally.
So the only thing that I really know about the school that you went to, the Buffaloes, is that a long time ago they had a running back named Eric Bieniemy. The thing that sticks out in my mind about him is that I was watching a game once, and they said that guy's thighs were so big around that he had to have his pants specially made.
Yeah, he was. I went to school right around the same time period as him, think now he's the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he was kind of one of the start of a long string of running backs that came out of University of Colorado, kind of in the late '80s, early '90s, I guess, that were quite good. One of them even winning the Heisman Trophy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Enough about your glorious football career. Let's talk about something else.
Which never existed, but
That's what makes it so glorious. You don't have any injuries from it.
yeah, I can make anything up. Okay. So yeah, the NFL record for most touchdowns scored. What can I say? 5'8", not a conventional running back, but I could find the holes.
I think you have the only touchdown scored in a playoff game by moonwalking. So good job.
Exactly. Yeah, I was showboating a little bit there. So.
Oh, you think?
What the heck? Yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming you went to school for journalism?
Yeah, I got a degree in journalism from the School of Journalism at the University of Colorado Boulder. So I worked in television news for quite a few years.
What made you choose journalism?
That's a good question. I originally went to school as an engineer. Had quite a bit of math and science through high school, and father was an engineer, so it just seemed to be kind of the natural thing to do. And then I found that I really hated it.
Huh.
But I had a fascination with telling stories, and at the time I was kind of a news geek, watching a lot of local television news. It just seemed like a more interesting way to earn a living. So I got an internship and had a chance to kind of learn about it, and then kind of after the internship decided to change to that major. It was kind of unusual to get an internship when I wasn't majoring in that, but one of the local TV stations was kind enough to grant a waiver, and so I was allowed to get an internship as an engineering major, and ultimately decided to switch.
Cool. How long did you do that for?
About 5 or 6 years. Seems like it was longer.
Were you doing in front of the camera, behind the camera, both? What were you doing?
Both. I started as on-camera reporter, but I had what appeared to be at the time a huge disadvantage because I looked so incredibly young. And in television news, your credibility sometimes is based upon people believing you. And, if I looked like a high school student at the time, a lot of people wouldn't necessarily believe the report I was delivering. So I had to kind of switch behind the camera for a while. Kind of became the seed for me becoming an actor, because I missed being able to tell stories in front of the camera.
Gotcha. So speaking of credibility and the news, do you think that from the time that you were doing the news and the current news cycle, do you think that the news has lost some credibility?
Boy, I don't quite know how to answer that question. For the most part, because I actually don't watch a lot of television news these days. So it's hard for me to evaluate maybe the product. So I think that's I don't know quite how to answer that question.
Well, I think that was a pretty good answer.
I think part of what has happened more than anything, at least by my observation, is that there's a lot of different ways for people to get information. And so there's less of a need and desire to wait around to 6 p.m. for the 6 p.m. newscast or 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. for the evening newscast when you have this little device in your pocket called a smartphone, and you can get all that information when you need it. And so I think that has drawn away a lot of viewership as it has for me. So I don't know the product very well, quite truthfully.
That's a great answer. In any poll, there's a yes, no, and a don't know. So I'll take that answer. That's fine with me.
Sure.
Now, after you, I guess, decided to stop being, I guess, in the big news, you did some children's news. Well, can you tell me about that a little bit?
Yeah, so one of it would actually kind of become a career highlight as I had a chance to help produce a syndicated television show called News for Kids. I think at one point, there's something like 230 odd television markets across the country, and I think we were in like 200 of them. So we were pretty close to 85%, I think, of the country that we were in, and it was called News for Kids, and obviously the target audience was kids. But what I think made ours a little bit different is that we had kid correspondents. So When we are doing a story on where do pumpkins come from, you have the kid going out there and watching the farmer plant the seed and stuff like that. So instead of having adult correspondents or reporters, we had kid correspondence. So that was a lot of fun, and you always knew that whatever story that you were doing, it was going to be viewed by some child and potentially exposing them to a part of the world that they knew nothing about, which I think is kind of why we do what we do, is we like being able to tell stories and to educate and inform and inspire and entertain. So I love doing that job.
It sounds really cool. Was it on like Nickelodeon, or was it on local channels, or what was it on?
Yeah, so it was a syndicated television show. So there's not a lot of syndication going on these days like that, but essentially a television station has several hours of programming that they need to fill, and if they're like a network affiliate or like an ABC station, then some of it is being filled by ABC, some of it's being filled by their own programming like news or something like that. And the rest of it they fill by buying programming, whether or not it's game shows or talk show. So we were syndicated, so we were usually showing Saturday or Sunday morning, I think, on most TV stations.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with that? Because it sounds a little bit different than what you were doing, but it sounds really, really fascinating and kind of new. So how did you get involved with that?
Essentially, the TV station I was working at the time had a lot of different departments in it, and News for Kids kind of originated from one of their departments. So for me, having left television news, I didn't necessarily leave the TV station I was at. I kind of started working in some other department. And one of them was for 3 seasons. I worked in their programming department, which was to produce this TV show.
Gotcha. You kind of left the business like right before Columbine, right?
Yeah. I think Columbine was 99, and I think I left Valentine's Day 99. So maybe a few weeks or so before Columbine.
And what made you leave? What made you decide to change careers?
At the time, when I left news, I didn't leave the TV station, so I had the opportunity for a few years to kind of work in a lot of different departments at a TV station, and I loved every little department I was in. And I think I just had this kind of thirst for knowledge where it's like after a while of doing something and kind of mastering it, you kind of want to learn more. And I kind of ran out of departments to work in. And the last department I worked in was sales, so I had a chance to really learn how a business like a TV station operates. And it just seemed much more interesting to me to open up my own business than it did to try to find another department that didn't exist at the time.
Now, and that was in 99 is when you left?
Yeah, I left right around 99, Valentine's Day, in fact, February 14th.
Oh, gotcha. So,
yeah.
So between 99 and 2001, when you had your first national debut, what were you doing in between, like for those 2 years?
I opened up my own production company called Takeda Entertainment. One of the things I learned while working in the sales department is a lot of times businesses either need commercials, like business to consumer B2C, so certainly did my share of commercials, but probably the bulk of the work that I did was internal communications, business to business, B2B. So I started to specialize in being able to help large Fortune 500 companies produce internal communications. Had the opportunity to work with, and still do, with General Motors and Eli Lilly and Procter & Gamble and a wide variety of other very large corporations on their internal communications.
Well, that's awesome. And you still do some of that sometimes?
Oh yeah, totally. I enjoy that kind of work. It's a different kind of work, and it's ultimately, I feel like even though these are large corporations, there's still people in those positions, and I really feel like we can be more kind of problem solvers and help them kind of reach an audience or deliver a particular kind of messaging that maybe they didn't think of trying. So I feel like I'm a problem solver and helping people out.
Well, that's very cool. So that sounds like Takeda Entertainment Inc. is still doing things.
We totally are. We absolutely are. So, and I think again, kind of stemming from my time as working in syndicated programming for News for Kids and wanting to help people. That's essentially what I do as a director is I'm kind of helping people tell stories, problem solving.
Well, you hear that, guys? If y'all need commercials or y'all need help solving problems and telling stories, what's the website address for that company?
It's my last name, TakedaEntertainment.com.
All right. Y'all go there if you need him. That link will be at the bottom of the show notes as well. But that sounds really cool. So then you transitioned into being as an actor. So how did that come about?
So I kind of missed telling stories in front of the camera. So I transitioned to. I was actually producing a commercial at the time, and we were in a recording studio, and I was. Usually a recording studio, you have the producer and the sound tech, and they're in this one large room with all these buttons and stuff like that. And usually there's a glass window, and on the other side could be the band if you're recording a band that's recording an album, or microphones for a vocalist or microphones for a voiceover talent. And in this particular case, we were recording a narrator for a commercial, and the two rooms are soundproof, so if you're in the room with the microphones, you can't hear what's in the control booth, which is where I was at. And so I was, touching the telecom and giving some directions to the voiceover talent, the narrator. And kind of what I was doing as I was giving some redirect was kind of performing the lines as kind of how I wanted them. So after giving the instructions, I pull my hand off of the intercom thing so the person can't, the narrator can't hear me. And the tech turned to me and says, "That was really good. Why didn't you cast yourself to do the narration?" And it was something that was never. It was a question I never thought about. The ability to go back in front of the camera or the microphone again. It had me wondering, well, why didn't I cast myself for this? Since I obviously know how I want it to sound. And so it kind of started the ball rolling and started taking some acting classes, and then I got an agent and started booking commercials that I wasn't even producing. And it kind of just, grew and grew and grew. So to the point that right now I'm on studio feature films and network television shows.
So how difficult was it to get an agent to start booking commercials? Because you had zero experience. I mean, you knew people and you sort of had your foot in the door, but how hard was it to get an agent?
I think I was pretty lucky. I think the agents, someone at the time knew who I was. So as opposed to somebody who just coming straight off the street who did not know anybody in the industry. So I think I had a little bit of an advantage in the fact that, the agents at least knew of me. So that was good. I think I kind of got lucky that way.
That's really cool that you were able to, for lack of a better term, kind of find a back door in. I think that's really cool. Do you every once in a while put yourself in something that you're producing as far as like a commercial or an industrial?
It's a little harder these days. I am now union. It's a lot harder for me to put myself into projects because anything that I'm on needs to be on the union contract. So I don't tend to cast myself a lot as I used to. Certainly I have cast myself at certain points in time. Usually as extras, more along the line of not even extras that you can see, not even somebody whose face you recognize. It's just like I'll be looking in the screen and it's like, man, I wish I had somebody in that back corner there. It just looks a little empty. And then I'll look around and it's like, well, I've used all my extras up there. So it's like, well, I'll just walk back. I'll walk through that little corner of the frame. And so that's more the type of stuff that I do as opposed to anything that I can be identified.
Gotcha. Somewhere, I guess you did an interview on a podcast somewhere around a year ago, and toward the end of the podcast, the guy asked you if there was anything you were watching on TV that you were kind of into, and you mentioned that you were just getting into The Man in the High Castle. I believe it was the first season, and now it turns out you're on it.
I know. I wish that would happen for every single TV show that I'm a big fan of. But yeah, I had the wonderful opportunity to work on the most current season. It's not out yet, of Man in the High Castle. I actually auditioned for that when I was on vacation in Spain. So it was kind of a nice little prize after being on vacation.
Oh, very cool. Where does that shoot? Does that shoot in Spain?
No, we just happened to be on vacation in Spain, and I got the audition came through, and I just taped something. But no, it shoots in Canada. So,
Oh, like almost everything else.
no, not necessarily. I mean, a good portion shoots in Canada, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Bunch of
there's
stuff,
still quite
but-
a bit that's shot in the U.S.
So, tell me about the difference between shooting on location and shooting on a sound stage. Like, how is it different as an actor, like from your perspective?
Actually, most of the stuff that I've ever shot has been on location. Just from my own personal experience, I think it's more fun to shoot on location. But there is certainly a convenience shooting on a sound stage because when you shoot on a sound stage, you've got guaranteed parking. Sometimes if you're a series regular, they have your own parking spot. You go in and everything is air conditioned, and it's maybe a little bit more civilized way of doing it. So because it's kind of like driving to the office, whereas opposed to if you are shooting on location, it's kind of like going on a field trip. But there's a little bit more fun, I guess, to that. You're staying. Everyone's staying in hotels, and I just was shooting last week in South Carolina. And we occupied a very, very small town in South Carolina for a couple of days, and it was a lot of fun.
Very cool. What town was it?
That's a great question. I don't really remember.
I'm really only asking because my wife was in Columbia 2 weeks ago, Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, sure, yeah. It was an episode for Mr. Mercedes, which is a David E. Kelly series that's airing on the Audience Network, which is not a big name network, mind you, but if you have DirecTV, you get the Audience Network. If for everyone else, I think you have it's kind of the AT&T network or something like that.
Gotcha. Well, it might not be a big network now, but if they're getting shows by David Kelly, then it's gonna be.
It was a lot of fun to kind of work on that show, and yeah, he's kind of become a big thing. Well, he always has been, but he's got 3 series on right now, and they're all phenomenal, including HBO's Big Little Lies. So it was a lot of fun to be there.
That's amazing. So you've worked on some really big projects with some really big directors and actors. Is there anything that really stands out? Maybe it was an actor or a director who was acting. Is there anything that stands out as like a big lesson that you took away from maybe an experience on set?
Well, I think I hopefully continue to take things back. I think anytime I have a chance to kind of be on set when I'm not working, I try to. So if for some reason we've got some downtime, I'll try to see if the assistant directors will allow me to be on set and just observe. And, I always learn stuff as a director and just kind of seeing how other directors work and how they pace things. This particular director that we were working with, on Mr. Mercedes, he has kind of a reputation for always wanting to end on time. So that's always nice. So his name is Jack Bender, and he happens to be one of the executive producers of the show. And being able to end on time, it makes everybody happier. And then you have some other directors that really like getting a lot of different types of angles of shots, and so it's always kind of cool also to be kind of around that and just kind of see how different directors run a set and how they try to tell stories visually.
Like Fincher, you worked with David Fincher. Doesn't he do like a lot of takes?
David Fincher does a lot of takes. David Fincher is, I think, one of our generation's genius directors. He's just way up there as far as being able to really create a mood and a tone for a film. And one of the ways he does it is he likes to be able to shape sometimes the story in the edit phase. So he likes to have a lot of different material to work with. So he does shoot quite a few takes. So as an actor, you just kind of know, okay, we're in for, a lot of takes. You're just going to do it over and over and over again. And it's not that you're doing it wrong. It's just that he kind of likes, again, options. But the thing that I didn't know and was kind of fascinated with is how incredibly collaborative he is. So, when you're setting up a scene, Ben Affleck would come in and go, well, what if I kind of came around the corner here, and while I'm saying this line, I can grab this legal tablet and start taking notes. And then, another actor would say, well, and then, I could do that, and what if I tried this? And meanwhile, this is obviously when they're when we're just starting to set up for a scene, and David Fincher watches all that, then throws out some ideas, and then through this kind of collaborative, well, what if I try this or what if I try that? He'll come up with something that he goes, no, that's it. And then once that's figured out, then all the crew start creating that vision. So I had no idea he was such a collaborative artist.
I didn't either. And I was going to ask you how that was, because that specifically, that was on Gone Girl, and if I remember correctly, every single member of the cast was a director. So
Yes, it's and that was one of the stories also that came out of that, and I was not there during that time period, but Ben Affleck obviously is a director. So is
Tyler Perry, yeah.
But one of the stories that came out of the stage, out of the filming of that, is how Ben Affleck at one point went up to a camera person and asked that camera person just to make the slightest adjustment on a shot. And Affleck wanted to see if Fincher would notice. And so as Fincher is then looking at the images that the camera's putting out, he says, "Oh, wait a minute. Camera A, can you close that down a third of a stop, please?" Which Ben asked them to make, a third of a stop change, which is basically allow more light, make the shot a little bit brighter. And sure enough, Fincher saw it. And so, yeah, it was kind of interesting to work on a set with that many directors on there. But at a certain point, I can speak as a director. When I'm acting, I just want to act. And so I didn't really see a lot of Ben Affleck, the director, or Tyler Perry, the director, when I was there.
Interesting. I think sometimes we, as audience members, or as just the general public, sometimes I feel like we just assume that with that many cooks in the kitchen, everybody's just going to try and cook. So that's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the difference between, David Fincher likes to have a lot of takes, but you've done some like daytime soap operas where I don't think you just get one, I think, right? So how do you prepare yourself for those different kinds of interactions?
Soaps are a whole different beast, and I'm not sure if the audience realizes this or not, but because of economic pressures, soap operas they shoot sometimes upwards of 2 shows a day. So during a 5-day shoot period, they may shoot 10 episodes, maybe 11. So in order to be able to accomplish that, there's obviously no shooting take after take after take. So for the most part, soaps these days are shot in one take. You get one walkthrough where you kind of walk through it and allow kind of the crew to see where the action is, and then you do one rehearsal, and then you do your one take where they're actually recording it. And so it's a lot like doing stage, because obviously if you're doing theater, there's not multiple takes of the scene. You do the scene, and then you move on to the next scene, and then you move on. So it's a lot like theater. So I don't know if there's that much of an adjustment in mindset, except for you just realize, oh, we're doing theater. So got to get it right. Boom, you're there.
So with that in mind, have you done a ton of theater?
I have not done a ton of theater, no. I do a lot of improv, which is kind of still the same thing. It's like, that without a safety net, because you have no script at that point. But a lot of the basics of theater and improv are still the same, in the fact that, the audience is on one side, you have your little off-stage areas, and it's, one take, you have to get it in one take, so...
Now, you split time, I think, between Colorado and California, right?
Yeah, LA and Denver, yeah.
So, do you do improv in both places, or is that mostly when you're in LA?
I actually primarily do improv here in Colorado. I have not had yet a chance to penetrate the improv world of LA. Just like any place, it's kind of who you know, and usually when I'm in LA, I'm focusing on auditions and all that kind of stuff. So, and the improv world is kind of well separated from the TV world. So right now I've started to meet some folks that are in the improv world, so hopefully we'll have a chance to do some improv in LA soon. But my improv roots are a little bit deeper here in Colorado, so that's usually where I perform.
Oh, cool. So you have been in some of the most recognizable movies and television series of the past 10 years. Like, I loved AMC's Halt and Catch Fire. Like, that was such a...
Yeah.
It felt groundbreaking,
Yeah.
even though it was sort of an imaginative retelling of actual history. I mean, you've been in Nashville, American Crime, Grimm. When you were on Grimm, did you get to turn into something?
No, unfortunately not. I played a hotel manager named Mr. Adams, so I didn't get to do any of that prosthetic makeup that the show is so famous for. So now I basically look pretty normal for that, which is kind of disappointing. I think a lot of times you kind of want to do stuff where you look a little different and changed. But yeah, but like Halt and Catch Fire was kind of the retelling of Silicon Prairie. Essentially, I would guess kind of the birth of Dell computers, as well as kind of the birth of Yahoo, kind of as they kind of went over 4 seasons, I believe, the show would morph. And so that was a period piece of the 80s. So got to wear a little bit of kind of period styling. They made me look older, so it got to look a little bit different there, but so far no wild and crazy stuff. I did book a commercial last year where they turned me into an alien. So that was at least, I got to be an alien for that.
Has that aired?
That has aired, yeah. Unfortunately, it aired only like about 3 months, so I didn't get that many residual dollars out of it.
Well, that's
But
unfortunate.
yeah, I had the whole green head, bulging eyes kind of stuff. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I'm about an hour and 15 minutes away from Austin, so that whole Michael Dell Halt and Catch Fire thing really resonated down here. It was great.
Yeah.
You've also, I mean, aside from The Man in the High Castle, which that season hasn't aired yet, and I guess you recently did some, or at least one, of The Americans on FX.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I've got a couple things coming up. I mean, I've got Drunk History, guest starring on Drunk History tomorrow, the summer season premiere. And then I just shot Mr. Mercedes, and that'll probably be out, I'm guessing, late October. And then Man in the High Castle, they don't have a premiere date for that. I shot Preacher, and I don't know when that's airing. I know the new season begins, I think this upcoming Sunday is when it starts, and I think I'm in the 10th episode of that. And then I'm in a new Hulu series called The First, and that'll be airing sometime this year. And then, yeah, I did shoot the last season, episode 3 of The Americans.
Wow. I believe also you have coming up The Tale, which I think was recently purchased by HBO.
Yeah, and that's actually airing right now. So airing
okay.
right now on HBO is The Tale opposite Laura Dern and the late John Hurd. And that is a very, very powerful film. I can't speak enough about that. It had its premiere at Sundance Film Festival. I got the first standing ovation of Sundance 2018. It was purchased by HBO. It's an autobiographical story of a filmmaker named Jennifer Fox, played by Laura Dern. And while shooting a documentary in real life, Jennifer Fox, and then also Jennifer Fox in the film, gets a phone call from her mother, who discovers kind of her diary. And in the diary is some very disturbing information about Jennifer's first sexual relationship. And so Jennifer Fox, being a investigative documentary director, then kind of starts turning her documentary, investigative skills on her own life and starts interviewing folks from the past and uncovering essentially sexual abuse that she went through, that she somehow, her mind couldn't accept it. So, in her mind, she changed the details. But as she was starting to uncover the real truth, uncovered some really disturbing stuff. So, and it kind of became this film, The Tale, kind of started carrying the Me Too movement. It kind of became the banner, the one film that says this is kind of what the Me Too movement is about. So, very, very proud to be a part of this film. Very, very proud of the director, writer, Jennifer Fox, for telling this story. An amazing cast: Laura Dern, Jason Ritter, Academy Award winner Ellen Burstyn, Frances Conroy from 6 Feet Under, Elizabeth Debicki from Great Gatsby, Common is in it, and the wonderful Isabel Melise, who plays the young Jennifer Fox. age 11, 13.
Wow, and you said that this sort of goes along with the Me Too movement?
Yeah, I think this film premiered at Sundance, and it came out the very same day as the Women's March 2018. It was interesting attending this year's Sundance because, when we first arrived, my publicist would say, well, hi, this is, he'd introduce me as, hi, this is Scott Takeda of the Tale, and everyone would go, oh, okay, sure. And then after the film came out, everyone was like, oh my God, I'm trying to get tickets. Oh my God, I've heard so much about it. And it was really kind of interesting to see how this film, over the period of one day after it came out, everyone, it was the buzz of Sundance, at least while we were there. Very, very powerful film.
If I'm not wrong, you guys made this like well before Me Too, right? Like, didn't y'all shoot this in 2015 or something?
So yeah, we started shooting this fall of 2015. Yeah. So and obviously this has been a story that's been around for a while. Jennifer has obviously written it long ago. So
Sure.
well before Me Too came out. But the timing happened to be right. I think they had quite a few distributors wanting to distribute the film, buy the film, and to distribute. And I think they ultimately decided to sell it to HBO because a lot of people. One of the things that the film talks about is kind of, or doesn't talk about, but kind of demonstrates, is how our memory adjusts over time, sometimes to protect ourselves. And obviously, this being a traumatic event, the adult Jennifer Fox kind of conjured up an entirely different story about this experience, and as a way to kind of protect her. So I think the producers felt like this film that people would be much more willing to watch the film if they could watch it from the safety of their home, as opposed to having to get into their car and fight rush hour traffic and see it in a theater where you're surrounded by a whole bunch of strangers. And one of the things they've also done, which I thought was just so incredibly smart and brave, is HBO and then the producers together created a website called thetalemovie.com, where if this movie triggers you for some reason, or if you're just curious about more information, you can go there to get more information about this. Or if you've gone through abuse, there are a lot of resources that you can have at your disposal. Or if you happen to be a parent of a child that has gone through this as well, you can have resources. So I think ultimately it being airing on HBO has been a really wonderful thing.
Very cool. Wow. I'm looking forward to it.
And it's also one of these things I'd highly encourage people to watch it. It's a really terrific film as well.
Well, my wife and I will be watching it this weekend for sure, if not sooner. So I guess you just recently wrote, produced, and directed a short film that won Best Short Film at the Denver Film Festival. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. What do you want to know?
I'm guessing, is that a movie that you filmed at your family reunion, and it's about belonging to a family and or what comes along with that?
Yeah, so I happen to belong to a filmmaking group called BS Filmworks. It stands for company principal Brock Sherman, for B, and then me, Scott Takeda, for the S. So that's where the term BS comes from. And we've been around for about 8 years or so. Yeah, about 8 years or so. And my lovely bride joined us probably about 3 years ago. So we like telling stories around universal themes, and then we put a personal spin on it. So we for the outsider, we wanted to kind of explore the human need to belong, specifically within family relationships. So what we did is we told the story of my lovely bride, or girlfriend at the time, meeting my extended family for the very first time. And it's not an exaggeration to say that most family events, have dozens upon dozens of people attending. And, an actual family reunion will have well more than 120, 130 people. So it was a very overwhelming experience for her, and to kind of capture that whole experience, we did happen to shoot during kind of a mini family reunion, which the Japanese, a lot of Japanese families will do something called mochitsuki. I pronounced that really improperly. But it's essentially the making of mochi, which is kind of a rice ball. A lot of folks out there who've been to sushi restaurants may know mochi ice cream, which is when they take the rice and then put ice cream in the middle of it. And so my family makes mochi every year. And that was kind of when Lori met my family. So we kind of recreated that.
So you are of Japanese descent. What about your wife?
Yeah, she's German. So it's kind of a meet the family, except for, or we like to call it my big fat Japanese family. It's kind of, there's some elements of that on both of those stories in this film. But there's, again, a little bit of a twist on it because we really kind of more touch on the fact that I think we all, at a certain point, have this need to belong. And I think no matter what we're in, whether or not it's a work situation or family situation, I think at some point or another, we all kind of feel like an outsider.
I wholeheartedly agree. I have been married a few times, and stepping into somebody else's entire family is quite unnerving, and you do feel like an outsider a lot. So I think that's a really interesting point of view for a short film. I think that sounds awesome. Where might somebody see that?
You know, we're still going through the festival process at this point. We have been fairly fortunate in the fact that the previous two films, short films that we've done, have had distribution. So we just, you know, we're usually a film has about 2 years that you can be in festivals. So we're about 6 months into this whole festival thing. So we still got about 18 more months, and then at that point, then we'll probably sell it for distribution that, you know, more people can view it. But until then, you know, hopefully we'll be at a festival near where your listeners are, and they can have a chance to see it at a festival.
Cool. Well, as we're winding up, real quick, I just want to tell everybody to go check out The Tale, which is airing on HBO right now. Also, the upcoming season of The Man in the High Castle. Of course, Drunk History. You're going to be in the season premiere, the summer season premiere?
So the season premiere Tuesday the 19th.
Awesome. Can you spoil who you are in there or who you play?
You know, the entire episode is about World War II. So I will be there's 3 segments within the episode, and I'll be one of them. I'm not sure if I'll be 1, 2, or 3. But usually the producers at Drunk History find some little known aspect of history and they tell a story about that. So that's what this one will be about.
Cool. I'll be checking that out as well. So Scott, will you tell everybody where they can find you on social medias, and if you want to hit your Takeda Entertainment website one more time, I'd appreciate all that.
Yes, on social media you can find me at Scott Takeda. That's SCOTTTAKEDA. You can also find me at scotttakeda.com. That's SCOTTTAKEDA.com. And then my directing site is TakedaEntertainment.com. That's TAKEDA Entertainment.com.
Awesome. And lastly, if I wanted to see some of your photos hanging in galleries somewhere, where might I find them?
Oh, yes. So I used to be a professional photographer. So I have a show coming up in November, I think. That's the only one that I'm aware of. I've been in discussions with my mother about possibly doing a show next June. But you can see my photography at ScottTakedaPhotography.com.
Nice.
I think I've got about 6 websites, to be honest. So keeping them all up to date is very interesting.
Well, very cool. Well, Scott, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And, you know, again, like I said earlier, before we started recording, thank you so much for saying yes and for all the good things that have come from that. So I really appreciate how kind and how nice you've been to me. Thank you so much.
Well, appreciate that. You're very welcome.
You have a great rest of your week, man.
Will do. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
You've heard of CBD oil, right? Everybody has. CBD oil helps with relaxation as well as joint and muscle pain. But do you know what hemp-derived CBD oil is? Let's talk about HempWorks. HempWorks products are made from industrial hemp plants grown on Kentucky farms. And the CBD constituent that naturally occurs in industrial hemp is just one of over 85 cannabinoids that is identified in the cannabis plant. HempWorks CBD oil is CO2 extracted, resulting in a solvent-free, pure extraction. HempWorks offers 500 milligram and 750 milligram full-spectrum hemp oils. They also offer them in 2 flavors, peppermint and natural. They do not use any artificial sweeteners or flavorings. And also offer THC-free versions of these oils if you are subject to regular drug screening. HempWorks CBD oil is non-GMO and organic, produced on Kentucky farms, and is free of GMOs, synthetics, fillers, and other harmful ingredients. HempWorks is so confident in their oils and products that they give you a 30-day empty bottle refund policy. If you change your mind within 30 days of ordering, send it back and they will refund your entire purchase price. HempWorks offers several products, including an anti-aging cream, a Revive cream infused with collagen retinol, which has incredible benefits for the skin, a Relief cream, which helps soothe and relax muscles. Also, HempWorks has products for pets. There's dog treats and CBD oil. And the dog treats are soy-free, corn-free, and grain-free. I believe that HempWorks ships to all 50 states and some countries. So if you're interested in learning more or purchasing any of these HempWorks products, go to www.hempworks.com/BREXHEMP84. That's www.hempworks.com/BREXHEMP84. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Most workplace drug screens and tests target delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, and do not detect the presence of cannabidiol, CBD. Cannabidiol, CBD, is a naturally occurring constituent of the industrial hemp plant. HempWorks does not sell or distribute any products that are in violation of the United States Controlled Substance Act. The company does sell and distribute hemp-based products.
Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.